Hello, guys. Welcome back to episode 4 of the Finance Time podcast. So, today we have a lot to talk about the past week. Despite having midterms, yeah, we've been keeping up with the market. Yeah. Okay, so first, let's talk about NVIDIA.
Yeah, like Nvidia just have their quarter report, and yeah, how did they go?
Yeah, apparently the quarter report did really well. It did beat estimates. Apparently they were bringing in 39.3 billion, which is very good. But the problem is that are they still growing? Are they still gonna grow? Or are they still projected to grow the same rate that they're doing? What they say is that they are gonna still grow. Their next earnings would be expected to be 43 billion, but we're not really sure about that yet because despite the rising cost of production, that could be a concern that will affect their profit margins. So that's one of the big concerns that we have to look at with Nvidia. It's already very overbought, right? So there's a lot of things to really consider there in the space. Yes, the AI uh, is still growing. We need more infrastructure to make better AI models, AI mechanics. But the problem is with also the tariffs and stuff, the cost of sourcing the materials to produce the chip also increases. So it might also have an effect on Nvidia in general, like their profit margins and their next year quarterly earnings. So, talking about the market in general, let's talk about Warren Buffett. Is there any concerning move he's making lately?
Yeah, so this is the ninth quarter Warren Buffett has sell more than the company he bought. So, and he recently released a shareholder letter to different shareholders. I'm not rich enough to buy his shares. It's way too expensive. But yeah, so he think right now the reason why he's not buying is because he thinks the market is overvalued. And you have to understand like the scale for Warren Buffett. Every single time for him to build up or to exit a position takes years just because of the scale of it. And selling those stock might hurt the market just because of how big the volume is. So that's why when we look into his move recently, he sold more stock, U.S. bank stock, than buying U.S. stock in general. But yeah, is he predicting the market gonna crash then? I don't necessarily think so. The reason is during 2008, right before it, 2005, that's the last time Warren Buffett holds around 30% of his portfolio in cash. That's the time when he think, oh, things are too expensive, that's why he's not
Recession's
buying.
coming.
Not necessarily recession coming, because during 2007 and early 2008, he actually keep buying US bank stock, and one of his biggest portfolio is actually a US company that do banking services. Then does he really have the magic ball predicting what's gonna happen? Not necessarily, but he is really good at picking good company with good business model, with good revenue structure that can grow in the long run. So that's the idea where when you invest in, if you bet into one wave, recession or growing market, that's not necessarily a good idea because you wouldn't know. But if you pick the right company that can survive during those times, have a strong balance sheet that can grow during bad times, then that's a good company that you should invest into. And yeah, he said he sees good opportunities, but just because of the scale, he might not necessarily do that quick. At the same time, in the shareholder letter, that's actually the first time he have always been pretty optimistic about the U.S. Currency system.
Yeah.
While Charlie Munger, his best business partner, actually don't have a more pessimistic view. But in the shareholder letter, he mentioned U.S. He is actually the biggest U.S. taxpayer in donated like billions of dollars, and he told U.S. government that they should spend it wisely, because if they are not spending the money accordingly, and if they are not using them and spend and printing money as crazy as before, he said it might actually harm the position of the U.S. dollar.
Yeah, it's a lot of uncertainty. That's why the Trump administration earlier tried to get into the treasury and check how much gold they actually have and then how much gold they actually hold, but it was like denied, right?
Yeah, it's blocked by a federal judge. So that's pretty pretty interesting. Yeah, it's a concerning and interesting period in the state right now. Where have you seen the podcast between Zelensky and Trump actually yesterday?
Yeah, it's what Trump expects is Zelensky's to be grateful. Like, oh, the war's gonna end soon. We're gonna end the war. But what Zelensky wants is that okay, they attacked us. They are the aggressor. They're supposed to pay us back because that is unlikely gonna happen. Is if Putin was gonna pay reparation, he will not end the war. It's just oh, if I end the war, I pay the money anyways. Why would I just keep the war going? So that's kind of the problem there. That Zelensky or Europe want reparation, want repayment from Russia for their aggression and how it impacted their economy and how it affected everything else. But the likeliness of Putin doing that is unlikely. That's why Trump is trying to find that middle ground where okay, here's what's gonna happen. Basically, Putin get a free pass. That's most likely the only reason that he would withdraw the troop and would stop the war. But Zelensky has another view.
I actually take I would recommend another view into the podcast yesterday. BBC and a lot of platform they clip the last 10 minutes, but I highly recommend everyone to go to Forbes to watch the entire 1 hour conversation.
Yeah.
The reason is if you listen to the entire 1 hour conversation, Trump is actually super respectful. In the first 2 minutes of the conversation, he praised Ukrainian soldiers multiple times.
Yeah, yeah.
While Zelensky get in there and just saying, "Oh, we need this from Trump." That's pretty disrespectful when they actually fund you the most, and when U.S. wants to take credit out of supporting Ukraine, and compared to Europe, they done more than them. Zelensky just say no to him. Say, "Hey, Europe also done the same." But then the thing is, it's true that U.S. supports more than a lot of European nations. Where they give them more military support, diplomatic support, while Zelensky just asking what he wants. Yes, we understand it, but then he doesn't have cards to play. Just like what Trump said, what brings you on the negotiation table right now?
Yeah. He's not a relevant piece to negotiate with.
Yes, indeed, and all he wants is to have military support to protect Ukraine. But then the thing is, first thing, what's in it for U.S. right? U.S. does not stand in his side. Trump, I think he supported. If he doesn't support Ukraine, he wouldn't get the conversation, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But then he's trying to stop the war as soon as possible, and he doesn't say and this decision by stopping it quick might not benefit Ukraine that much. And it's just a harsh reality where, hey, Ukraine, what do you bring on the negotiation table compared to Russia that might bring more value to U.S. than Ukraine itself, unless they sign their $5 trillion mining deal. But I honestly think that's pretty insane. Like U.S. spent wait, is it 5 trillion or 500 billion? I'm not sure, but it's a lot of money.
I think it's 150 billion in terms of budget to support Ukraine in this war. That was the number I saw when I looked at it. But one more important thing to keep is that Zelensky wants, guaranteed that if this stuff ever happens again, even when signing the minerals deal, he wants guaranteed that the U.S. will help them if this ever occur or happen again. So that's what he really wants. And then Trump was like, "Oh, we can talk about that." Yeah, because even now, they're willing to give off their mineral rights or whatever, as long as they have guaranteed that whatever happens next in the future or maybe in the years to come, if Russia start attacking Ukraine again, the U.S. will be there.
But to Trump, he see that guarantee as 2% of the problem, where getting it stopped as soon as possible is his highest priority, and those rests can be negotiated and as long as both parties benefit ensured. Russia wouldn't disobey or go against the treaty if his interest is satisfied or if what he needs is met, right? So it's about how do you negotiate with it. And when I see what happened yesterday in the White House, I understand why Trump would do that. I'm not saying who's right or wrong, but it's a matter of negotiation and who brings what on the table.
Yeah.
And Zelensky is not in a good side right now, even though yes, he gets support, text messages, supports from other European leaders, but that itself might not change Ukraine's situation unless European nations willing to stand up. And that's actually what Trump's trying to do too, right? By withdrawing the troop, he gets Europe militarized because it's a European war.
I see.
U.S. cross the nation to him, right? To him, he doesn't see the Russia direct threat to him. So it's not really his business, in his opinion.
But when we talk about this Russian-Ukraine problem in general, it goes way back, all the way to the deal that the West and the East signed way back with the Soviet Union, that they will not expand an inch towards their territory. But over the years, the countries around Europe, around Russia, have been joining NATO or EU nonstop. So Russia's a concern, like, oh,
Yeah.
we had an agreement, you guys didn't follow it. That's what happens. So that's kind of like, it's hard to like really say who's in the wrong or right here. We did sign an agreement. The West did sign an agreement to not move an inch to the east, but then they violated that by allowing like nations to join NATO and like other, because that's kind of the thing there. It's kind of it's a hard problem and it has a deep root.
Yeah, but again, it's about negotiations, and I do think Trump is a really good negotiator based off shouting tariff, threatening Canadian, threatening Mexico, different countries to do what he wants. Yeah, that's art of negotiation.
Let's talk about that. The tariffs, consumer confidence.
Oh yeah, that's bad.
It's really bad because consumer confidence have fell by 7 points. It's the lowest they have ever felt since 2021, which back during COVID.
Yep.
What the fall in consumer confidence basically rise is a reduction in consumer spending and a slower economy growth.
Yep.
Because with the tariff, of course, the cost is going to be passed on. Like we always said, the cost is definitely going to be passed on to the consumers. And yeah, it's just like companies are not going to operate a loss. They're going to find ways to profit. It's just like, it's them finding that sweet spot between like, okay, how much am I going to absorb? How much am I going to give up to the consumer to make me more competitive and more compelling to other companies?
Yep.
Like if we talk about the grocery stores, like Walmart, Costco, and Target, it would be like, oh, how much am I willing to absorb to make my prices low enough that consumers come to me and not my competitors? It's a pricing. You can see that dipped in like consumer confidence is really a big issue here. It basically signals a lot of things.
Yes, indeed, because people spend the way they feel like.
Yeah.
And if they don't feel confident about the business, about their job, they might not keep spending, and that will slow the economy down. And that's actually a threat. I saw different tariffs, these kind of protectionist America first policy might lead to is higher cost of living. And these leads to more inflation due to, it pass on. And the Fed might not even reduce interest rate that much as they thought so in 2025, or it might even increase interest rate because they increase the cost of living. Inflation happens again due to tariff, and Federal Reserve prioritize that. But at the same time, the unemployment rate, even though right now it looks pretty low, I actually saw some numbers before in some analysts is saying the unemployment rates right now is not reflecting the true unemployment rate because it's asking about people who are willing and able to work and they are not doing the job. But then there's a bunch of people who paid in cash, or they might not willing to work because they don't have because the COVID's backlog. And right now it's around 4% in US, and I saw some report they're saying the true unemployment rate, if they compare it with the population in that age demographic, is actually 8 to 9%. So the definition of it, of able and willing to work, is questionable, and that's a concern that the Federal Reserve needs to consider. And if unemployment rates and inflation is high at the same time, it comes to the worst economic situation possible, which is the stagflation. And that is a risk that US is facing right now, and there's a pressure. with a lot of these tariffs might happen, with a lot of with unemployment rates growing up. But if different companies go back and invest in US, and technically it could bring it could bring employment up again, but that itself needs time, right? You don't set up a company in 2 months. You need years to build a plant, to set it up. And how long will it take? And will it actually lead to stagflation? Who knows?
Yeah, we talked about this a lot. Like last week we mentioned how like it really affects the people and the consumer and everything like that. Now the real issue is like we haven't seen the real effect of tariffs yet. So tariffs are coming in today is March 1st, right?
I think it's March 3rd, no?
March 3rd?
Canada,
So
US.
it comes in a few days.
March 4th. Yeah.
March 4th. So it comes in a few days. That's when we really see the real reflection. Well, we have seen like Walmart earnings a few weeks ago. It was positive. They actually beat estimate by a bit. But then to really see the effect of tariffs on consumer spending and everything like that, we have to look towards next quarter when companies release their earnings and see how much it truly affects. Because like a lot of these companies might miss their earnings.
Yeah.
Estimates, yeah.
I mean, for U.S. economy right now, there's a couple possibilities. First is no landing, that the U.S. economy is so strong that it doesn't even slow down. Everyone makes money. Inflation, increasing interest rate is not a problem because companies still make a lot of money.
Yeah.
I don't think that will happen. Soft landing, which it slows down by an acceptable rate, or hard landing or stagflation, where stagflation is the biggest risk. I think right now U.S. might face with different policies that use as negotiation. Because again, even though you use as negotiation, it does bring impact when you actually implement them or when you say it out, right? It affects consumer confidence, and I think one of the reasons why it drops so much is because different tariffs, different policies might implement that leads to people unsure about, will the cost of living goes up? And I think that's a big factor that leads to it. And
I think one more thing we need to consider is Mexico is complying. Mexico is turning over a cartels member that is doing the drug trade, and they're really trying to cooperate with the U.S. here because they know that if the U.S. does do whatever the U.S. say they're gonna do, Mexico will take a big hit, and basically Mexico is complying. Another recently interesting news is Ecuador. They're offering to buy this. Basically, the U.S. will be allowed to send their prisoners to Ecuador, and they will basically pay a fee to Ecuador for holding those prisoners because they have a really good prison system. Even though, what I think that's gonna happen in Ecuador is that they're gonna put those prisoners to work, and they're gonna they're gonna make labor. It depends on how they're gonna do it, like what kind of system develop, what kind of thought. Because the Ecuador leader is an excellent person. In just a few years, he turned the country from the country with the most high crime rate to one of the most lowest by annexing gang members, cartels, all that. It was a very impressive turn actually. So there's a lot of interesting policies coming up, and we see how they affect. But let's talk a bit about Elon Musk. He's always been in the political sphere recently, and how have that really affected his company?
Yeah, I think right now Tesla, because Elon Musk is representing the Trump administration, they actually slows down at their sales in EU, right? From what I heard just now is in EU there's an increase in sales volume month by month, year to year.
Yeah, for EVs.
For EVs, yeah. But then Tesla didn't pick up. And I think that's actually part of the reason where European people are not very happy
retaliation
with the Trump people. And in general, EU economy itself is also very weak due to high cost energy because they shut down the Russia pipeline. And right now they need to rely on imported liquid natural gases and different imported energy, which is significantly more expensive.
So let's talk again about the pipeline.
Yeah.
Right. Or would it turn back on theoretically if the war ends?
Europe needs cheap energy.
Yeah.
They have high cost of living problem. Russia needs money. They have slowed down economy. And if Russia can sell oils to Europe, that can lower their cost of living. At the same time, Russia GDP can grow, why not? I see no problem that they can get a deal signed, and both of them needs it desperately. But again, Europe, the major voices right now is support Ukraine due to humanitarian beliefs,
Yeah.
due to Russia invading Ukraine first, those kind of voices as majority. But inside Europe itself, it also have a lot of different voices where two major countries go against with the European Union, where they think they should stop supporting Ukraine and instead get a deal with Russia, which is Hungary and Slovakia. But just a heads up, they have USSR background,
Yeah.
and they are pretty supported by. They have a lot of businesses with the Russia, so that's why that might be a
That's
major
why.
tone. But inside Europe itself, there's a lot of different voices that leads to conflict itself, and yeah, it's hard to get things done when there's different voices. But the major tone right now with France, UK, with the Poland, they are trying to support, and many other countries, they're trying to support Ukraine as much as possible, even sending the military and sending more support, which is also ideal for Trump, right? Because they increase their spending in military, they increase their support, which Trump said Europe needs to put at least the same effort as US did in the Ukraine-Russia war. And I think that's a pretty fair statement, honestly, because it's European war.
Yeah. It's not
Right?
the US.
It's not really US thing right now. Some voices might say, hey, if you keep letting Russia keeps invading other countries, then US will be harmed in one day. But yeah, one day that won't happen.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I think Zelensky said the exact thing. Like,
Yeah.
oh, if they are able to do whatever they want over there, it's just a matter of time when they can get here.
Yeah, but the thing is, Russia economy isn't that strong. Like
Yeah.
Russia have a very small, slow economy.
Yeah.
I think. Wait, let me check it out.
I think like over the years they have really taken like a back seat, compared to China and the US, and that's kind of where they want to keep themselves relevant in the,
yeah, it's funny where the GDP of California is almost twice of Russia.
Yeah, I mean, like to be completely honest, most of Russian have really one big main city, which is Moscow, and then the rest of it is just, desert, winter
Yeah,
desert.
they have huge land mass, but the thing is, it's really hard to develop, right?
Yeah,
like
because
it's
it's-
cold land, like Canada, right?
Yeah, exactly like Canada.
Yeah, like we have huge land mass, but a lot of them is very cold. It's hard to live in.
Unless global warming, yeah. Global warming will help with that, but we're trying to stop global warming, so it's not really a thing we're looking for.
Yeah.
To.
Yeah, I agree. Like Russia threat to US is not that direct, and I think that's like over dramatic. And honestly, if Russia actually threatened USA will make moves. Right?
Yeah.
It's not like they will let them. And if Russia actually expend that much, European Union itself will stop them first. And this EU's business because it's a lot closer to them.
Yeah.
Even though Russia have USSR background that go against with US back then, it's no longer happening.
Yeah.
So that's why to Trump himself, hey, it's a stupid war that shouldn't happen in the first place.
Yeah. So when we talk about the rise in use of natural gas and the need of the EU need of Russian natural gas, you can see that recently, like in the US specifically, like data centers are using natural gas as a source of energy for their AI models.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Yeah. So they're recently using so with the high demand of AI and the increase in user over years by year, they have been using natural gas as a source of energy. And most importantly, if we look specifically at the energy sector, 20%, like big hedge fund company are slowly moving 20% of their portfolio from renewable energy back into fossil fuel. Well, that isn't expected because Trump's like, drill baby drill. He's moving back to good old fossil fuel.
I mean, when you need to lower cost of living, you need to figure out from the very fundamentals, right?
Yeah.
And if you need to made in USA and then make sure the entire supply chain works out itself, be a more protectionist country, then you need to do that, right? You need to get more oil pump up, make it cheaper, make it more efficient, more accessible in different parts of the state. And then, yeah, I think pretty much that's what happened this week.
Yeah, that was basically a market wrap up. One of the really concerning things that we might look forward to is that people are being scared that we're going to move into a bearish market.
Yeah.
You think we're going to move into a bearish market?
Just how I said, right? There's a stagflation risk, and I do see that might happen, right? When there is a unemployment rate that I think is underestimated,
Mm-hmm.
and also with tariffs that increase the inflation rate.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and the consumer confidence going down as well.
And you like some of the leading indicator you can see is, for example, housing application permit. So housing industry is big, right? It connects to energy, it connects to building material, woods, hiring construction workers. That application slows down a lot for the last couple of years. The only reason why the industry is still thriving is because during COVID period 2021, there's a huge backlog, and how they're clearing it out.
yeah.
When those contracts are done,
They're
those people
gonna-
get fired.
Yeah,
The economy might slow
probably.
down. Then that might be the true threat to U.S. economy when the COVID effect of COVID interest rates finally ends.
Yeah.
And that's indeed a threat. And that's why I remain aware into my portfolio, into different diverse options, right?
Yeah.
Look into gold, look into companies that generate strong cash flow and more traditional company, because tech stuff, hey, I'm not a huge fan of insane, unpredictable, just playing with the prices, then looking at the yields, looking at the company growth, those stuff.
I mean, for me, I put everything in the QQQ index, which is basically an index of all the big tech companies.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot of fluctuation, but it overall shown always a 13% growth year after year. So that was kind of my safe heaven there. But like I might move it to a safe like the Vanguard S&P 500 because
QQQ is 3 times the leverage, right?
yeah.
Yeah, and from what I heard recently, Goldman actually adjusted their prediction of S&P growth from yearly 9 to 13% to 46%,
Yeah.
just because of how uncertain the economy might go. Like,
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna start moving our cash somewhere else safe, I guess.
yeah, holding cash is safe, but then don't forget that you need to
Inflation.
discount your cash flow, right?
Yeah,
And then
that's
at
why-
the same time, currency can fluctuate its value, especially with tariffs and uncertain geopolitic growth. So the best thing that we can do is to get a diverse portfolio of companies
That's like
that can make money no matter in what
Yeah,
situation.
so it's best about really selecting the best companies to really invest in. I think companies like overall they've been performing very well and they have been back after COVID, but with this new policy, all these political changes, they might keep growing, but then there's also a high risk with all these like inflation, consumer index, consumer confidence. Everything is just like it's just indicating that it's gonna go into a bearish market.
Yeah, and let's see how it goes. Make
Yeah.
sure we get our studies done.
I mean, like even like it's like even us like we're not super professional. Like even Warren Buffett is kind of expecting something of this overvalued market, right? So what better to listen to the best like trader in the world?
Like, Warren Buffett is a legend.
Yeah, legend.
Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, whoever claimed like, oh yeah, they only they hold 30% cash or something like that and selling you investment opportunity, do not listen to them, please. I swear to God.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's just push back into cryptocurrency for a second. We kind of predicted last week saying that if any kind of like disturbance into the crypto market, it will affect the price of it.
Oh yeah.
And it did affect the price of it after like I think Bybit got hacked and
Yeah, 1.5 billion US dollar.
yeah
I think.
got stolen.
Yeah, got stolen.
In Ethereum, I think.
Ethereum, yeah.
Yeah, and then like what they basically did is that they take it and they put it into different wallets and then they keep distributing wallets. So it's very hard to track. That's kind of the problem with cryptocurrency. It's decentralized, yes, but when stuff like this happen, who is accountable and how do you find what you lost?
Yeah. Again, all you're doing in crypto is you buy it at a price and you hope someone else to buy it at a higher price than you. And
Yeah,
that itself
yeah.
is speculating. It doesn't grow by itself.
It's a funny thing because like it's us humans, we give value to gold, we give value to crypto. It's what we give value to, basically giving it that increase in price.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, like right now it was 100K like a few months back during the election when Trump was all so bullish, and then now it's back to 85K, which is still pretty high, but what if there's another cyber attack? Like what if there's another platform that got hacked? Like there's so many uncertainties with
Yeah.
cryptocurrency.
And do you really want to put your money as safe in crypto based on that? I doubt it. Because again, if you get thrown off a plane in Africa, do you want to have a Bitcoin wallet or do you want to have a gold?
Yeah, gold obviously, because golds have a lot of history,
Yeah.
lot of history. It's been a valuable thing since ancient time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the value it has. It's
Yep.
deep rooted, and this is something new. Maybe 1,000 years in the future, this could be the goal of like our time.
Mhm.
But we there's like a lot that still needs to
Yeah.
be developed with these things.
Yeah, again, we need to train our ability in picking good company with good growth,
Yeah.
because that's a tremendous skills that can grow in a very long period of time. With Bitcoin, you cannot pick it.
Yeah.
All you're doing is you hope someone buy it off at a higher price than you. It's a zero sum game. It doesn't grow by itself.
I actually bought a bit into B2 Gold maybe a few months ago, back in November, and my suspect is like, oh, with the increase in inflation price, gold price is gonna go up, and I bought it around $3, and it got to around $4.
Mhm.
I have a lot of shares, like, and then I sold it, and
Uh-huh.
then, like I made my profit.
So I guess
And-
you're buying me dinner.
no, after I sold it, like on that day, the next
Uh-huh.
day it went back to $3. So I was like, thank God I made the right move. Like I was not too greedy, because like I was gonna let it ride to $5, because like analysts expect that it's gonna go to
Mhm.
$5, but yeah, it was there.
So you buying me dinner?
Yeah, I think that's everything we have to cover for the market this week overall. It's been like a really interesting run. Like a lot of politics, a lot of changes in the market, and companies trying to really adjust to this, the change in policies.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. Thanks for
Appreciate
watching,
it.
everyone.